Hello everyone, welcome to the daily news protocol of the Hindu newspaper analysis contributed by Vishnu IAS Academy. Today we are going to see the news articles for the date 18th April 2022. Moving on, let us see the first news article for the today. It is regarding the code of medical devices. Recently, a separate code for medical devices is proposed by the authorities. That is nothing but the Uniform Code for Medical Devices Marketing Practices. Why do we need such a separate uniform code for those medical devices? Don't we have any such a code earlier? We have a code similar to that, but not specifically for medical devices. We have such a code on the area of pharmaceutical regarding the medicines itself. But if we can see the quality of the medical devices, we need such a uniform code. Why? Why? Because there are occurring some malpractices. If we can consider any medical equipments like stents or any equipments regarding in the medical sector, there is no such authenticity of those devices. To acquire that authenticity of those devices, we need such a uniform code in this specific area. And also, what would be the benefits occurred out of such a code? It will restore some competitiveness among the market, among the manufacturers. If we can, if they can produce such a medical devices with authenticity and accuracy. And also, it will give some identity to those medical devices, like we will have some brands, right, for our clothes and our gadgets and accessories. Like that, if any authenticator manufacturers will give such an identity to those medical devices, the patients would be of no fear to use such a medical devices. Okay, and also the manufacturers would get such a ethical esteem on them. Okay, and also price controls would be controlled of those medical devices. Why? Because we will see that there are such huge prices for those medical devices. So, to reduce that prices control in that manner, such a code would be very much in need, and it would increase credibility and trustworthiness, and also it would reduce some risk to patients so that they can use those medical devices very confidently. Okay, moving forward, let's see the next news article, that is NCERT. So recently, the National Green Tribunal has released some directions to the states and union territories. That is nothing but to explore green cremation methods. In India, there is a huge practices of majority of population of India to conduct some traditional cremation methods using the wood. Because of that, if we consider a person for a dead body or for a person, they will need like nearly 350 to 450 kg of wood to burn that dead body. So, if we burn that much of huge amounts of wood, that will result huge amounts of smoke, pollution, dust and all. So, to eliminate that, the NCERT is suggesting any environment friendly methods of cremation. Okay, and also suggesting some alternative fuels for that, that is nothing but the electric manner and the piped natural gas. So, in that scenario, it is like some sensitive emotional pattern of people, right? Why? Because there are so many traditions in people that the cremations are linked with the family sentiments. So, NCERT is here suggesting that to not disturb their sentiments, but to create awareness among them to move towards the environment friendly methods. So, to achieve that, it is suggesting these two methods, and also it would incur less costs on their expenses. Why? Because the cost of wood is very much higher. Instead of that, using these will result in less cost of cremations. Okay, and also there is why this verdict and result was resulted is because there is a case filed in the NCERT named Real Anchors Developers Private Limited. Okay, it is enough to remember that name. Moving forward, let us see some facts of the NCERT. What is NCERT? National Green Tribunal. It is established in the year 2010 under the Act NCT Act of 2010 as a specialized body. What is the function of the NCT? It is nothing but an alternative of the judiciary to reduce the burden of higher courts. It would specifically deal with the environmental disputes, any cases regarding the environmental issues. Okay, NCT, if you can see earlier scenario of NCT, it has replaced a body called National Environment Appellate Authority in the year 2010. And coming to the functions of the NCT, it focuses on to reduce the burden on higher courts as we have discussed earlier, and also it curbs the environmental damage activities. Like we have seen earlier just a minute ago, it suggests some environmental alternative mechanisms to protect the environmental damage. And also it deals with the civil cases under 7 environmental acts. It is also important to remember these acts. Those are nothing but the Air Act, the Water Act, the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, and the Environment Protection Act, Forest Act, and Public Liability Insurance Act, and Biological Diversity Act. Under all these acts, the NCT will deal the civil cases. Moving forward, let us see next news article regarding Iridium Phones. What are the Iridium Phones? These are nothing but the satellite phones. Right here, we can see the image of these phones. They look like this. What are the satellite phones? What is the difference between the regular mobile phones and the satellite phones? The regular phones would occur with the signals acquiring from the cell phone towers. Why? Because hence the limit of those signals coming out of those towers will restrict to some area only. But when these Iridium phones are getting the radio waves and signals directly from the satellite, there won't be any restrictions on their scope. Hence, these signals will be captured and utilized all over the globe at any area. So that is the main advantage of these Iridium phones. Because of that advantage, they are misused by some terrorist and illegal activities. So hence many countries are giving some bans on those Iridium phones. If we can see some ban in India, in the year 2008, the Directorate General of Shipping, the DGS, has restricted the usage right after because of the Mumbai attacks in that year. After that, in the year 2012, these phones are completely banned. Okay, and some important bodies in this regard are the NTRO and the Defense Intelligence Agency. The NTRO is nothing but the National Technical Research Organization. These two bodies will see some important formulations and real-time practices of these phones. Okay, now let's see the next news article. We have very interesting editorial in our today's newspaper. That is nothing but the weather forecast of IMD. What is IMD? IMD is nothing but the India Meteorological Department. It will give many weather forecasts. Today we are going to see the forecast of monsoon. In this year's report, IMD has told that the monsoon of this year of India would be normal. And also the LPA reading is of 87 centimeters. What is LPA? The long period average. What is the long period here? IMD considers that long period for 50 years. Like if we can see any example, like from 1961 to 2010, like because of the onset of the El Nino, it will result in the drying up of the monsoon rains. Okay. Now the IMD is saying that El Nino effect is null. Because of that, the monsoon forecast would be normal for this year in India. Okay, moving forward, the Indian Ocean Dipole. What is Indian Ocean Dipole? It is nothing but occurrence of, if you can consider it as a southern India, it is the Indian Ocean, right? In the western and eastern Indian Ocean, if we can consider, there would occur a scenario of dipole. So, if the western Indian Ocean, the temperatures of the western Indian Ocean alter and oscillate, that would result some oscillations of this eastern Indian Ocean, and that will result the differences in the monsoonal onset of the southern India. Okay, if this western Indian Ocean is warmer, we will consider it as a positive dipole, and if it is a colder, we will consider it as a negative dipole. So as a result of this, if the western Indian Ocean's temperatures are warmer enough, it would result in the positive and it would result in the rains. Okay, so that was told by the IMD, but in this year's result, the IMD has told that this result would be neutral only, but it is not positive, but it is neutral, which is not helpful for the monsoon. It is also one of the points told by the IMD. And also, if we can consider the long LPA, long period average. What is it? As we had discussed earlier, it is the average rainfall, indication of the average rainfall over 50 years interval. Clear? For this year, it is the 87. Earlier, the 50 years earlier to this, the reading was 88, and earlier to that, it is 89. So the IMD is saying that the reading is reducing year by year, and it is now has reduced till 87, and the reduction of 1 centimeter is there to be noticed. But we will see that the rainfall is just reduced 1 centimeter, but the impact and effect of that reduction of rainfall would be very drastical in nature. Okay, and also if we can see any way forward for this, the IMD, if as we have discussed earlier, if IMD releases any forecast like shorter and for a month or a fortnight, the detailed analysis of these rainfalls can be studied for India. Okay, moving forward, our next news article for today is regarding the cyber security, a status of India's national cyber security strategy. What is the need of India to have such a strategy in the cyber security area? So recently there is a report released in 2021 titled as Palo Alto Networks, released by the American cyber security firm. Okay, it has recently told that the cyber attacks and crimes were increased very hugely, like that is 218%. That is very huge, right? Earlier, that is if you can see the global average, that is 21%. It is that much higher. Our attacks of ransomware in India is that much higher. The report is saying that. And also, if we can see specific increase, it is in the areas software services, capital goods and public sector entities. The cyber attack is that much raised in recent years. That is the need of the hour for India to focus on the revised strategies in the cyber security. Moving forward, if we can see our present strategy of India, there is a report that DSCI, Data Security Council of India. Okay, it is saying that it is suggesting some suggestions and recommendations which can be followed by our authorities to frame any new and focused and suitable strategy for India. So, to focus on early stage design. The early stage design in all digitization initiatives is very much important. Why? Because the cyber attacks will occur in the digitized devices, right? Before releasing them, if we can focus on their design itself, we can save those devices from such ransomware attacks, right? And also, the monitoring and mapping of those devices is very important. And also, the critical information protection is also very important. So, the protection of information infrastructure is very much important to save the devices from the cyber attacks. And the digital payments and the state level cyber security should be developed. All these areas, all these points are suggested by the DSCI report. And also, if we can study, if we can see any further suggestions to be followed, a minimum allocation of 0.25% of the annual budget is very much need of the hour. So, and also research and innovation and skill building and technology. Keywords like these are very important. Our programs have to focus on these areas, and also some national framework as well as that is feasible for the states also. Why? Because the scenarios in the states will be different. Hence, a strategy that is suitable for the states and the nation would be framed. A framework would be useful in that scenario. And the cyber insurance is also important. Cyber diplomacy with the other world nations is also important. And the 5-year roadmap to have cyber laws is also suggested by that report. And the DSCI suggests that advanced forensic training for agencies, it is also very much important to give such advanced training to those agencies. And also coordinating with all the world nations or acquiring some other skills from other world nations is also important. Moving forward, our next news article for the day is regarding the Enforcement Directorate, ED. What is ED? Earlier, ED is in the form of Enforcement Unit. It was established in the year 1956. Later on, it was reframed as Enforcement Directorate as a multi-dimensional organization. Okay, earlier the EU, the Enforcement Unit, would work on the FERA in the areas of exchange control laws violations under the Act FERA, the Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. Okay, now it is reframed as ED and it would focus on economic offences under these 4 acts. What are they? PMLA, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, and the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act, Foreign Exchange Management Act, FEMA and FERA. Okay, so now let us see what is the money laundering. What is the definition and meaning of the money laundering? Money laundering is nothing but the parking any illegal money or property out of the purview of the authorities, out of the beyond the boundaries of that country or of that state in an unlawful manners. That is the meaning of the money laundering. Under the PMLA, there is an act to restrict such crimes, money launderings. What is PMLA? Prevention of Money Laundering Act. It was enacted in the year 2002 and it was being implemented from the year 2005. And its main objective is to prevent parking of the money outside India and to trace out the layering and the trail of money. Okay, there is a PMLA court under this act which would help the Enforcement Directorate, ED. Okay, as per this act, with the back of that PMLA court and PMLA act, the ED would acquire the evidence from other countries also. Okay, it can acquire the evidence. Like ED will write a letter to those nations. Under the PMLA Act and the agreements between those nations and India, the ED can get evidence from other countries of our own defaulters. Okay, under the Act, ED can investigate authorities. It can even investigate authorities also, and it will question the appointment and powers of those authorities if they would occur any such crimes. Okay. So, if we can see any specific functions, these are quite interesting to learn. Let us see. What is the difference between we have police force, right? We have police force to see such a crimes. But why do we need ED? What is the difference between the role of police and ED? If we can see that, if there happens any theft, that person, the victim will go to the police station. And that theft was beyond the 1 crore rupees limit. That will go under the ED. Below that limit, it will be dealt by the police officials. That is the main difference between these two bodies. And also, if we can see some specific case regarding the jewelry, any jewelry costing 1 crore rupees, in that case, the jewelry, that case of will be dealt by the police. The theft of that jewelry will be dealt by the police, but what ED does here is that it will attach those assets of that accused person. Okay, that is the difference of police and ED. And also if you can see another case, ED carries out search and seizures. It is the main specific functions of ED to be remembered. Okay, it will search any missed properties, and seizure of money and documents will be conducted by the ED. Okay, ED can also directly carry out search and seizure without calling the person for questioning. Okay, it can search and seizure, it can directly carry out that person without questioning him. Okay, these are all the specific functions of ED to learn. Moving forward, let us see some interesting fact of the day. It is regarding the Dhuku tradition. What is it? It is a tribal community of Khunti district of Jharkhand district. They are from the Sarna tribals. Because of the lack of economic resources and the lack of capability to maintain a huge family, they won't undergo the marriage alliance. Because of that backdrop, they won't go and they won't marry. They won't conduct that marriage ceremonies. Because of that, but people need some companionship, right? So because of that, these tribal people undergo living. But what happens here? From so many decades onwards, there is that tradition in these Sarna tribals that is called as Dhuku tradition. But afterwards, what happens is that as there is no any formal identification of their marriage alliance, they are not getting, the women of those communities are not getting any legal rights from their male partners, and also the children are also not getting any identity. Okay, it is the coming problems and consequences of that tradition. So because of that, to do some good to that tribals, some NGOs are conducting some community weddings, so that to provide some formal recognition to their marriage. So that is all about this prelims fact today. Now let's see some MCQ of the day. It is based on our discussion of the day. Try to answer this question. Let us see the answer of this question in tomorrow. This is all about to be discussed for today. Let us meet in another interesting session tomorrow. Thank you.